even. So I'm at Nature's Cafe in Ventura. Today is my first day back at work, formally. Here, I left on March 18th, 2020. It's now July 6th, 2021. So that's a good year and 5 months, right? Claudia says, peace be upon you. Well, thank you. That's very apt. How's the audio? Can you hear me all right? I've got background music and I've got the mic. Oh, you're good.
Are you special with tahini? Anything else I can grab for you?
I think that'll do it. Thank you so much. Oh, I need a fork. Hold on just a second while I get my fork. Tell me, is the audio okay? Let me go grab my fork. Just a second. Who was that wished me peace just now? Let's see the comments. Oh, that was Cloud S. Thank you, and thank you for confirming the audio. I need that little bit of that little blessing that you offer. This is hard. This is really hard. After 15 months of being at home with my family, with my dogs, ensconced in that environment, to suddenly come back, not just to work, not just to the workplace, but to this alien environment is really hard. Yeah, I'm having a tough time tonight. I was texting Yumiko, and she could sense it as she does. She has that X-ray vision, and she just, texted me just as I was finishing work and I was going for a walk out on the beach, and she was like, "How you doing?" It's like a little touchy-feely there, how she's able to sense that. And I said, this is kind of tough, but she understands. She said, "Come home." She said, "Just come on home." She knows I could be home in 2 hours if I did the commute. I got the Airbnb reserved for tonight, so I won't do that. I would love to go home, but I know that the consequence that would be, it's only Tuesday. If I did the commute, the full 240-mile round-trip commute, I would be toast by Thursday, and I still have Friday to go, so I can't do it just to be able to preserve my well-being. So there you go. So there's that. That's not why I started the video. Jake says it's kind of like sleeping in a new place with different sounds and smells. Your body's adapting. You know what you're right. The more sobering thought I have was, what would it be like if I didn't have my family? What would life be like without that? And that's like slap in the face. Very bracing thought, because it's easy to take that blessing for granted, to use that word again, right? Until you kind of get a glimpse of what that might be like without them. Wow, it's a sobering idea. Someone asked a question, where am I? Excuse me, I'm going to eat my dinner. I hope you don't mind. You can share dinner with me if you like. I'm in Ventura, California, and where I work for the city of Ventura, and I'm at the Nature's Cafe, which is my go-to restaurant. I eat here almost exclusively. I work in City Hall, which is right over there, just 1 block away from the main drag here in Ventura. So I have my pick of a litter. I could have dinner every night at any one of these fine restaurants, but 9 times out of 10 I choose this place, and I almost always get the same thing, which is this right here. It's called the Yogi Special. It's fried. It's tofu, and sauteed tofu, and then a salad on a bed of rice. It's very good. My coworkers seem to be adapting too. I won't foist upon them the word of struggling, although I expect some of them are. I started this video for a reason. I wanted to answer a question. My friend Dean down in Australia. Hey Dean. Of Three Old Boots fame. Asked me a very pointed, targeted question about writing. He asked me how I write. He asked me specifically if I'm I think he said a planner or a plotter. The planner being someone who actually, when they want to write something like a book, they actually come up with an idea and then plan it out. You know, the chapters, the storyline, the chapters, the sections, and then the arc of the story, and then execute accordingly. Versus a plotter, which is someone who kind of just plods along and creates something in the end. And I answered him that I do both. So Dean, this video is actually specifically for you. So I've written 4 books. 3 of them are complete. The last one is in the editing stage right now. My first book, No More Looking Out for Number 1, was a definite plot book. I knew that what I wanted to write. I roughly had an idea of the chapters, and I did just what I described before. I had a story. I laid out the chapters, came up with a story arc, and then went ahead and proceeded and wrote the thing. It's not a long book. It's only about 70 pages. It was a very deliberate effort. I knew exactly what I wanted to say in that book. And I wrote it pretty quickly. I didn't do a whole lot of editing at all. It was pretty much finished up, done. I hadn't realized that really until now. Versus Going Alone, my second book actually, which really required a lot of editing. So let's get into that one. So Going Alone, that's a book that I didn't intend to write until I had written it, and I realized, hey, I've written a damn book, and I didn't realize it. So that can't be a plotter, right? Because I didn't intend to write a book. It's definitely a plotter, but not even a plotter. It was kind of a stumbling along, right? Stumbling along accidentally. That book began because I was writing almost like a form letter when I was living in Japan as a J-blogger, responding to people, typically young 20-something men and a few women who were writing to me asking about how to get to Japan. And I would have this response, and I was writing the email like twice a month, 3 times a month. I would write the same damn email. You know, I shouldn't say the word damn. I meant it very sincerely, and I did a lot of work to write each one, talking about, you know, the courage that it takes to screw up the courage to leave the safe and sane and go to someplace like Japan, and then the process of that and the consequence, the risk of not doing it and paying a price later on in life by having lost that opportunity in youth and being left like an old person who is too afraid and too crippled and too just timid to do it anymore. And also they can't withstand they're too old to withstand to suffer the slings and arrows of risky youthful activity. So you imagine that. So that would be like a 2 or 3 page letter, and I was rewriting that 2 and 3 page letter every month, 2 or 3 times. And in order to be genuine, I would write it from the heart every time. I didn't just copy and paste it. After a long time of doing that, I finally realized, you know what? I ought to just write this thing once, and then I can publish it as a blog, and then I can just point people to the blog. Hold on, I take a bite. And that's what I did. And that was a blog post called Hello Little Feet, welcome. That was a blog post called The Path of Wildness. I posted, and thereafter I just referred to it. It was easy, it served its purpose. Later, when I came to Japan, people stopped writing to ask me about how to get to Japan. So I stopped having to answer that question. But I did start heading out to the desert. And that's where I met the muse. Oh, little five, not little feet. Of course, that's the kanji for 5. I don't know the kanji for ashi. I wonder what that was like. Sorry about that. By the way, doing this is helping. Talking to you guys, even though it's a one-way street, is helping to alleviate a little of the blues from this first night alone. Well, it's not just that I'm eating salad, little five. This is my yogi special. It's sauteed tofu salad on a bed of rice. I said you just arrived, I'll catch you up. That's my first day back at work. Since the pandemic, I am fully vaccinated, and I'm back at work, and I'm having a hard time. This is a tough night for me. It's been a tough day. So I'm inviting you all to keep me a little company, and I'm answering a question in the process. That question again is from my friend Dean down in Australia, the writer of things, and he was asking me about my writing process. And Pink Winter Princess Jessica, Princessica. Hi, Mr. Kurt. Oh, just Kurt's fine. Thank you. I recently changed my username recently, and I hope your day back at work went well. Oh, it's Erica. Stay safe out there. You're in my thoughts, Erica. Thank you. And Little Five asks if I really ride 200 miles a day to work. I do if I commute. It's more than that. It's 240. 120 miles each way through downtown LA traffic, through 3 counties. It's a hell of a commute, and it really takes it out of me. That's why I'm staying in an Airbnb tonight. So talking to you guys is helping. I don't feel so down. I don't feel so depressed. I was really feeling down over there. Realizing that I couldn't go home tonight. I don't know. I know I'll adapt. Well, anyway, so Dean had asked me, down in Australia, had asked me about my writing style. And then he asked, plotter or plotter? Plotter, do you plot your stories or do you plot along? So, Going Alone, the second book, was a plotting story because I wrote the first part without knowing it. The Path of Wildness. And then when I started going out to the desert, I encountered my muse who gave me little bits of inspiration. And then I wrote a chapter called, and I started capturing that inspiration and adding that to my Facebook page, My Muse is a Corpse. It's a string of free-form thoughts. It was inspiration. I mean, the type of stuff you can't even think. I swear to gosh, even though I don't believe there is a muse, it really is like it just channels into your mind and you scribble it down with the thoughts there. It's an amazing process when it happens. And what's really amazing is it rarely needs to be edited. It just comes out, dare I say, perfect. Perfect from the perspective of what I wanted to say. I've read with other writers that describe what that's like as well. It's almost like you're just channeling the words. I know why they call it a muse. It really does feel that way. So then, after I wrote The Path of Wildness, I wrote this big body of work, which was the spoutings of the muse, right? Over on that My Muses of Corpse Facebook page, which is a weird little page, but that's the raw inspiration page. And then I had that experience that I call the anxiety hike, which was a day-long, bat crap, beat the heck out of myself expedition through the desert that just rocked my world. It was really a heck of a hike. So after that happened, I wrote that hike down and I documented the account of it, and I called that the anxiety hike, another blog post. So I had 2 blog posts and a bunch of ramblings. Let me see if I can remember the next step. So I don't, 2 blogs and a bunch of ramblings do not a book yet make. What was the next step? I think it was just about that point that I decided to take those musings and put them to some good use. Put them to some good use. My boss, my other boss, is just messaging me. And I created this was the first time I think I actually intended it to be a chapter. I started to realize, hey, I got kind of a book creating here. And I created this thing called My Muse is a Corpse. And I remember really being uncertain about that title. Oh, it's such a, what a title, My Muse is a Corpse. It's just so disgusting, you know. I'm so glad that I chose it. It really is the perfect title. And then I took some of those things from the Facebook post and I tagged them onto the end of it. So it's a short little bit of a chapter, and I deliberately wrote it to tag on those little Musy Corpse things. And now I've got 3 kind of chapters, and I realized then, oh gee, this is starting to take shape like a book. All I need to do is to fill in a little bit of pieces here and there. Enter the plotter stage, right? So this is a hybrid book. Started off as a kind of a plotter, just plodding along, making blog posts, and then realized, oh my gosh, I'm starting to create a book, and then beginning to plot it out. And I took them together, took those two blog posts, and by then the writings of the Muse stuff the corpse stuff was huge. Began to fill that in, found out a way to do that, to add them in together, and then I started adding chapters. Going Alone, which is the title chapter for the book. I then added an introduction. I then added Stoic poetry, then an epilogue. And then that book was pretty much done. That's when I published it. It was like late 2018, I think I published that. And it was not quite formed, but I learned that that's my style, is just get out there, you know. And then a friend of mine reviewed it, and she read it, and she told me, you know, Kurt, one thing you're missing is, like, I can't keep track of all these things: the Desert Killer, the Muse, the Ghost of Siberia, the Soulless Beasts. What are all these things? So she was right. So I created a glossary, which I intended to put on the back, but then I realized, that would be a better chapter to put in the front, right after the introduction, and I called that the cast, which this is a summary of all of that. And then I ended up writing a chapter called the Writing Bridge to summarize the place that I wrote everything. And so now you see that I've got like 7 chapters now and 300 pages, and that's how the book was created, and it continues to form to this day now, especially with all my daughter's art. So that started off as a plodder, and then became a plotter. The third book. Now I got some questions. Let me answer, or some comments. Let me read those. Little 5 asked, no plan to move closer to your workplace? Maybe we might. Jack says, I think those years of making videos in Japan probably inspired some people to spend more time being introspective. Maybe. I guess that would be, I would be glad if that was the case. Jonathan says, oh my God, I caught you live. How are you doing? I'm good, Jonathan. I'm glad you were able to catch me. Kaderi, and how are you doing? He says, oh hello, OG vlogger. What's it? Is that original gangster? I guess so. I guess anyone from 2006 would be an OG gangster, right? Jake says, thank you. That makes me feel good. Have you ever heard of the author Stephen Colter? I have. I don't know much about him though. Stephen Colter has designed a neuroscience flow training for high-performance professionals. Oh, really? Wow. Well, I'm becoming more and more a low-performance professional. I'm wearing down, definitely. And my time is limited in terms of my work years. Eyeballing retirement in a big way. So, third book was called Freeway Bible Study, and that was definitely a plotter. I set out deliberately to read and review 1 chapter of the Bible every day, nonstop, except I took Sundays off. No sacrilege here. And I did. I kept it up. I read one chapter a day, all the way from Genesis 1, all the way to Exodus 21. At which point I realized I could stop. Read the book if you want to understand why Exodus 21, or read Exodus 21 if you want to figure out why. I think it'll be obvious and quite apparent. Anybody that is searching to discover if the Bible is true need read no further than Exodus 21. Although it gets even better with Deuteronomy and Leviticus. Anyway, and I continue to do that. I read the Bible every single day, except Sunday. I give myself a day off on Sunday, one chapter a day. And often I'll read the same chapter over and over. I really do a lot of deep thinking about the Bible. It's very important to me. I really enjoy my Bible study every day. But anyway, I decided that I would write a book on that capacity. Not a book. It was going to be another kind of an installation of chapter by chapter bits. And then I realized, oh gosh, you've got another book going. And I created that book, and that's a big book. The biggest one yet, because it just goes on and on. It's amazing how much reflection you can get out of just not even 2 full chapters of the 66 books of the Bible. My 4th book, The Good Life, which I'm wrapping up now, was a definite plotter. I planned that one out. I knew exactly what I wanted to do. Oh, there's another chapter from Going Alone that I forgot to mention earlier, I did mention. It's called, I didn't mention, it's called The Good Life. The Good Life is where I describe the 7 objectives and 26 principles of the good life, which is my answer to the awful discovery of going alone. And then I decided, but I just briefly enumerate and describe them in the book in one chapter. So I decided that deserves to be expanded. So I created a separate book called The Good Life, which takes those, 30-odd items and then treats them in detail. The book is written, it's big. I'm not very happy with the editing. I need to edit it. So I published it and then I promptly pulled it back while I'm editing it. I think it's going to take me 3 to 5 years to edit before it'll be done. So it's not currently available. And with that, I think I saw a comment. Pink Winter Princess Erica. Oh, now I can read it. If it makes you feel any better, I'm taking my first step out into the world next week after years staying indoors. So I'm pretty nervous. Good luck to you on that. Erica, if you hope you don't mind me calling you that. It's easier to remember. Brace yourself. It's hard. Hopefully you have a home to go to every night. I think that will help it. That's the thing that's really getting me is I can't go home to my family tonight. I can't go home to my little dogs. It's very lonely. It's downright depressing. I mean, really, really heavy type of that. So I hope it's not so bad for you. I think there's a lot of people that are going to go through this difficult transition back to whatever normal looks like for whoever they are, wherever they are. I expect like pulling out a bad tooth. You know, it's the initial part that's the hardest part, but eventually it'll be over. And by next week, I should be in better shape. I think a lot of my coworkers, well, I know they are going through the same thing. They told me as much, but at least they can go home. They can go home to their home. I'm going home to some strange room in some Airbnb that, man. You know, Ralph Waldo Emerson said that the wise man stays at home. More and more, I respect and appreciate his ways. Well, that's all I wanted to say tonight. So, I'll probably wrap up. I feel better. I'm not without anything to do though. I've got my book to read. I didn't quite finish The Maine Woods, which is that's a heavy lift. I've got 7 pages to finish it. It's not a long book, it's like 280 pages. But heavily annotated, heavily researched. I got the annotated version, so just following up on all the annotations takes a lot of time. So I didn't quite finish it. I didn't want to haul that big giant book around with me for this week when I'm away from home. So instead, I left that on my reading table. My wife, bless her heart, she's so sweet. I'm so blessed to have her. she created this wonderful little spot for me in the home. She always does that. She always creates a place for me, and a beautiful little armchair, the wingback armchair, and a little desk, and a beautiful little reading light. And that's my little place. So I've left the main wood sitting there, and instead I'm going to start reading The Lives of a Cell by Lewis Thomas. I'll start reading them tonight. And with that, I think I'll call it quits. But I think I saw a comment there. Last comment go by. 1030 says, I used to watch your videos around 13 years ago. I'm glad to see you're doing well and still making content. Crazy how fast time goes. I wonder how old you were when you first started watching. Thanks for watching and for hanging out with me so long. Sam says, happy to share this evening with you, Kurt. I used to watch your videos back in Japan. I didn't want to hit that. I hit report. Japan days. Take care of yourself. Sam, I hope I didn't hit the report and report you. I don't think so. Thank you, Sam. I appreciate the long support. I'm telling you, you might see me back. Yumiko and I are more and more talking that at age 62, we're going to pull the trigger and go back to Japan to spend at least 5 years back in Japan to begin our retirement. Boy, I've got some plans. Yeah, it'll be fun. Jack, thank you for have a God day. We have a God day to you as well. The reason I asked though, you say you were 14 at the time. I get that so often. People that started watching when they were teens, and they're still with me now in their 20s. So that was 14. You're 28 now. Wow. Well, good luck to you on your life and your journey. And with that, I'm going to sign off. Finish my meal. Finish what's left of my little beer. Start my book. Maybe, you know what I'm going to do after this? I don't have to get close. It's right here. The microphone's right here. I'm going to go have a Ben & Jerry's ice cream. Right? What else is ice cream for? When you're feeling down, God, it feels like a sudden wave of getting choked up, I don't like this. The guy that wrote Going Alone doesn't like being alone. More particularly, but I don't like being away from my wife. Of course, I miss my daughter, but my daughter's 20, soon to be 21. She's got her own life, and she's going to be heading off into that life. But Yumiko is the woman that I will spend my life with. I have spent my life with, and I do miss that. I miss being with her tonight. And of course, I miss my dogs, especially little Rudy, who hangs out with me all day, the little white dog. So anyway, straighten up. Get myself together. I'm going to go have a Ben & Jerry's ice cream after this, a Cherry Garcia scoop. And then I'm going to go to my lonely Airbnb and settle in. Maybe I'll let myself watch some Netflix tonight. You think I should do that? Yeah. I usually don't watch TV very much. Maybe I will do that tonight. Get into a little distracting. Reading actually takes something out of me. Just get into it. Let myself go with a little distracting show. Maybe I'll do that. Anyway, take care, everybody. You have a good evening. Thanks for joining me. I love you, did. Bye-bye. Remember, be safe, but not too safe. And good luck to you as you start going back out to the world when that chance comes. Stranger Things. Okay, maybe I'll watch that. Thanks for the recommendation, Jake. Take care, everybody.